Okay, welcome to the news. We have a big episode today with massive class changes across the board, updates to Delve Loot, Mythic Plus updates, raid nerfs, way more PTR class changes, and so much more. My name's Skyy from the Comeback Kids. It's your Saturday morning news. Grab a cup of coffee, sit down. We got a lot to discuss.
Alright, before we get into it, I know I'm not the only one out there who's been constantly reached out by robocallers and scammers, always trying to bother me, to the point where I never even want to pick up a phone call to someone I don't know anymore. This leads me to the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Aura actually identifies these data brokers exposing all your information, and it will submit opt-out requests all on your behalf. The thing is these brokers are legally required to remove your information if you ask them to, but they make it a giant hassle and very difficult to do for the everyday person, and that's where Aura comes in to handle it. Not only does Aura get all this information off the web for you to keep you and your family safe, it does many other things to protect you and your family from online threats you can't even see. Everything is incredibly streamlined and easy to set up, so you don't have to have a bunch of apps on your phone and remember all these different passwords for things like antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft, insurance, and the best part about it is that you actually get it all at one affordable price. Guys, do yourself a favor, let Aura do the hard work for you of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. It's definitely better to be safe than sorry. You can either let people to continue to exploit and profit off your private information, or you can go to the link in the description below to start your 2-week free trial today.
Okay, welcome back. Diving right into the main headline of today, Blizzard just released some massive class tuning on the weekly reset upcoming this Tuesday. We got some hero talent tree changes, changes to class abilities, and so much more. Starting off with the Death Knight, the only changes come to DK is with their Sand Lane hero talent tree for Blood, with them drastically increasing the damage of Vampiric Strike by 30%, buffing Infliction of Sorrow with its remaining disease damage, as well as the instant damage effect when it's consumed. Visceral Strength is additionally getting buffed from 8% to 12% strength, and the Frenzy Bloodthirst increased the damage of now your Death Strike by 6% per stack, which was previously 5. Now, I know there's a lot of Blood DK players out there that are really enjoying Deathbringer, and it's good to see that these aren't getting any nerfs, but Sand Lane is getting some buffs. For Havoc Demon Hunter, thankfully, Eldrazi Reaver is getting buffed significantly because Fell Surge is currently dominating Demon Hunter as a whole across the board. Eldrazi Reaver is getting some buffs to their passive abilities on their talent tree by 100%, as well as Reaver's glaive damage being increased by 15% as well. Currently, I think Fell Surge is just way too powerful to pass up on in an AoE situation for Demon Hunter, so we'll see how this changes them when it comes to single target come Tuesday also. For Vengeance, their Mastery Fell Blood effectiveness is being increased by 20%, and they're also getting some minor defense increase while more healing per soul consumed, and Soul Barrier is getting a buff as well. For Feral Druids, their Wild Stalker hero talent tree has been incredibly underperforming compared to Druid of the Claw, and it seems like Blizzard finally noticed. In AoE situations, the chance now for your Bloodseeker Vine has been increased a bit when Rip and Rake are on multiple targets. Additionally, the Bursting Growth damage is increased by 10% as well, so overall, there will be more vines being spawned, and the damage of the Bursting Growth is being increased as well, so hopefully this helps out this talent tree. When it comes to Resto Druid, however, the only thing getting changes is Cenarian Ward's healing by 40%, and a flat healing increase by 5% as well. We all know Restoration Druids desperately need help, but I think this is them just trying to hold them over until their massive update at 11.0.5. For Evoker, they're slightly nerfing Blistering Scales when it comes to augmentation, and they're making some slight updates to Flame Shaper for both Devastation and Preservation. For Devastation, they're increasing the damage Consume Flame deals by a whopping 25%, but reducing its damage in PvP combat. I think Scale Commander is just too powerful to pass up on still even after these buffs, but we will have to see what happens. For Preservation, their Engulf healing is being increased by 20%, but their Consume Flame healing is being reduced by a whopping 50%, which is a massive nerf. This spell has been constantly getting updates for Preservation Evoker, and I don't know if they're going to be too happy about this one, because 50% nerf is pretty much gutting. With Hunters for Beast Mastery, they're buffing Kill Command again by 18%, and your overall pet's damage by 4%, which should help them out significantly. For Survival Hunter, they're just making some changes to their tier set bonuses by nerfing the 2 set by 3% damage, but then buffing Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bites 4-piece bonus to, I guess, make up for this. Sadly, I'm not loving these changes to Survival, considering they aren't doing too great as it is, so I don't think nerfing them in any way should be warranted in my opinion. When it comes to the Mage, their Frostfire hero talent tree is getting some massive buffs across the board with damage increase to key pieces like Frostfire Infusion, Frostfire Empowerment, and additionally, the mastery you get from casting frost spells being increased by 2% per stack, rather than 1%, which should be really good for Fire Mage. When it comes to Monk, they're getting huge updates to the Master of Harmony hero talent tree, which has been underperforming lately, pretty much across the board, with a 15% buff to the Stored Vitality ability. And then for Brewmaster, they're greatly going to be increasing their damage with this spec as well by reverting a lot of the changes that they made back in the beta, which a lot of Brewmaster's monks weren't really happy about back then. They're going to be happy about it now, though. They're getting it reverted. Chi Burst is now getting a 100% damage increase compared to 50% now, which is going to be dealing some insane damage. So I'm personally excited. For Mistweaver, Coalescence will now cause Aspect of the Harmony to increase damage and healing taken by 30%. And Aspect of the Harmony stores 30% of your healing done now, which is a nice buff as well. For Holy Paladin, they're pretty much targeting the Lightsmith talent tree pretty much across the board, increasing the healing and damage potential it can deal for their output, which I guess is a good thing, but they are reducing their overall healing by 5%, which I don't know if a lot of Holy Paladins are going to like, because I like the attention they're giving Lightsmith, don't get me wrong, but personally, I don't really think the class needs a 5% nerf compared to some of the other better healers out there. Protection Paladin, however, is getting some massive buffs with an increase to all their damage by 6%. Word of Glory is being increased by 20%, and buffs across the board to pretty much everything when it comes to the Lightsmith hero talent tree. But then additionally, increasing the healing over time from their Word of Glory, making the duration shorter on the Light of the Titans, and then increasing the duration of their block chance after using Word of Glory. So overall, really loving these class changes for Pop Paladin. Really excited to see how this change is moving forward for things for them. Especially since next month they're getting a big update as well. When it comes to Retribution Paladins, they are significantly buffing the Templar hero talent tree, which, if you've been playing Retribution Paladin, kind of exclusively using Herald of the Sun lately, and it seems like Blizzard has noticed this. They are significantly buffing pretty much everything across the board for this talent tree as well, with how much damage your massive Hammer of Light ability does to its main and secondary target, the duration on some of your effects, haste buffs, pretty much. Listen, everything across the board is pretty much getting buffed for Templar this Tuesday. I'm excited to see what a lot of the Paladins of the community think about this one as well. Speaking of damage buffs, it also looks like Shadow Priest is finally getting some attention, with damage increase to Mind Blast, Shadow Ward Death, Void Bolt, Shadowy Apparitions, all being increased by 10%. And additionally, the Void Weaver hero talent tree is pretty much getting buffed across the board as well, ranging between 10 to 20%, respectively, to most of these spells, which is really exciting, because I think Void Weaver is one of the coolest hero talent trees in the game, and it needed a lot of respect from the developers. It needed the love the design, just needs some slight tuning. When it comes to rogues, Caustic Splatter for Assassination is getting a minor nerf by 5%, but overall, some updates to their tier set bonuses, which the developers state that it will be a net increase to overall damage, heavily towards single target, because Lord knows Assassination needs it. For Outlaw Rogue, with all their ability damage being increased by 4%, and a damage increase to Dispatch by 6% as well. For Resto Shaman, they're getting some minor nerfs to Earthen Harmony and a 20% damage reduction to Acid Rain, which I know a lot of you Resto Shamans aren't going to be too happy about. When it comes to Demonology Warlock, however, they're getting some nice buffs with a 20% increase to their Pact of Arid Ruins Doom Guards, as well as their Felguard damage in general, and their Gloom Hounds slash damage. Listen, I think Demonology is still going to need a lot more work, but this definitely is a step in the right direction for them, so hopefully it makes things feel a little bit better. For Warrior, they're getting some decent buffs to all three of their hero talent trees across the board, with damage increases to most of their passives within their tree, kind of like Arterial Bleeds for Colossus, Lightning Strikes damage for Mountain Thane, and Opportunist for Slayer. For Fury Warrior individually, however, they're buffing both their 2 and 4 set bonuses for Neurobar Palace, as well as bringing additional buffs to Mountain Thane. I don't think Mountain Thane is going to be viable compared to Slayer at this point, so maybe this could feel good for them, but I don't think it will. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, an absolutely mountain of class changes coming to the game for a lot of hero talent trees out there that desperately needed it come Tuesday. In particular, Void Weaver for Shadow Priest absolutely needed help, and definitely Wildstalker for Feral Druid, so hopefully these changes help these classes out a bit more. Additionally, a few days ago, we got some minor hotfixes this weekly reset that included some changes to Delves. Pretty much what they're stating here is that the Heavy Trunks in tiers 6, 7, and 8 Delves will now have a chance to grant you 2 to 3 reagents, which was previously just capped at 1. If you didn't know, at the end of Delves, you have a chance to get some pretty high quality materials that you could sell for a decent amount of money on the auction house. A personal favorite, a lot of players out there was definitely the tinderbox that sells for like over 4,000 gold. So we definitely could assume that we're going to be seeing an increase in tinderbox drops, which should reduce the price a little bit, making it a little bit easier to, you know, craft some of those items out there. Everybody hates that these things cost so much money. I'm one of them. Nice change as well. Additionally, this week, we also got some updates to Mythic Plus dungeons on our weekly reset of October 1st, which brought some significant nerfs to dungeons like Grim Batol, drastically reducing the damage of pretty much the hardest enemies in there. Some minor bug and fight fixes to some other dungeons, nerfs to Stone Vault with the Rock Smasher and the speaker mobs that would absolutely annihilate players. Listen, overall, I'm going to be honest, I think Mythic Plus this time around compared to previous expansions is significantly harder than before. I think we can all agree on that. I swear this time around, I'm really trying my hardest to complete dungeons in a pug with groups and, you know, keys and levels that are like 4, 5, and 6, and I gotta hunch over and really sweat it out, and it feels harder than ever. I recently hit 2K on my rogue. I'm not gonna lie, it was very, very difficult to grind to obtain that 2K. I know they made some changes and they did increase the difficulty drastically to previous expansions and seasons. I just personally think it's a little too much for some of the average and casual players out there. Let me know what you all think about that in the comment section below, because I'm dying to hear your thoughts about Mythic Plus so far. Speaking of additional nerfs to make things easier, additionally for some of you Mythic Raiders out there have been some massive nerfs to Brood Twister and Kaiveza in the last weekly reset for Nurabar Palace. For you crazy bastards that are actually in Mythic at this point, you're going to be happy. Brood Twister got nerfs pretty much across the board, as well as Nexus Princess, ranging from like 15, 20 to 30% on a ton of their hard-hitting abilities, which should be a lot easier for some of the pressure that these bosses put out in the raids, which is going to be really, really nice. Personally, I'm still finishing up progression through Heroic on some of my guildies, and I haven't even reached Mythic yet, but it's still very interesting to see that these changes are coming after the race to World First. So if you're progressing through Mythic, this should make things a lot easier. Looking toward the future now, we have some changes and updates coming to the PTR as well, as 11.0.5 comes up soon. First up, Warband banks now work with crafting orders in patch 11.0.5. Now listen, everybody knows also the Warband bank has been a game changer for allowing your entire account access to all of your reagents and, you know, necessary things for crafting. You pretty much take all your reagents, put them in the Warband bank, and you go about your day. Across your account, you can craft things. However, it has been pretty damn frustrating that you couldn't use these materials from your Warband bank to complete or set up your crafting orders, which really ticked me off. So Blizzard actually just made an announcement recently that the Warband bank will now work with crafting orders in 11.0.5. I'm not sure why it has to wait till late in this month, but this is a massive quality of life feature, so it should be coming late this month. Overall, very big W for crafting orders as well. Lastly, we also got even more class changes on the PTR on top of everything we're getting Tuesday, and this is coming for 11.0.5. So remember, it's not coming Tuesday. This is coming later this month, late in October. Balance Druid is getting some buffs to balance of all things to increase your critical strike chance. New Moon and Half Moon's damage is being increased as well, and the Circle of Life and Death talent is actually being removed, which is pretty surprising. Other than that, they're just getting slight nerfs to Rattle the Stars, Umbral Inspirations, nothing too crazy here. But for Elun's chosen hero talent tree, the Lunar Calling is once again getting reverted and buffed to that 100% damage increase to Starfire. And before they made this change in the beta, it was absolutely insane for single target damage. So I'm very curious to see what happens with this class come 11.0.5. Once again, Hunter's getting some massive updates with the Dark Ranger hero talent tree rework. Shadow Dagger's damage is being reduced by 90%, which is crazy. Bleak Powder's cone size is being increased, and just some general updates. Additionally, for Beast Mastery Hunter, however, something that was very interesting is that the Shadow Hounds that you summon from Dark Ranger will now actually have Beast Cleave for their durations, which is really, really nice for Beast Mastery. Additionally, Bleak Powder's damage is being increased by 100%, and the chance for Black Arrows to trigger your proc is now increased to 20% as well. Once again, Beast Mastery getting some buffs. Gotta love to see the direction they're heading in. For Blizzard's favorite class, once again, Mage is now getting some updates with the Frostfire passive talents being significantly increased across the board, ranging from like 15 to 50%, which should help out this very weak hero talent tree for Mage. Speaking of weak, Fire Mage is once again getting some drastic buffs to Lit Fuse, as well as, you know, everything revolving around Living Bomb. So pretty much they're just increasing the chance for Living Bomb to get procced, increasing the damage of it, and generally just trying to make it, once again, more active within your rotation and happen a little bit more, considering where at the moment if it gets casted on a group, it feels like literally nothing's even happening. To supplement for this, they are reducing the overall damage of fire by 3%, which kind of sucks. But for the Sun Fury talent tree, they're increasing the damage of Pyroblast and then reducing the damage of Flame Strike. So in single target, your damage should be a little bit increased. For Monk on the Shadow Pan hero talent tree, they're actually getting some nice buffs, with Flurry Strikes now triggering at 240 energy rather than 300, which should be increasing the rate at which you toss out Flurry Strikes by roughly 20%, which is nice. To supplement for this, though, they reduced the damage by 8%, but overall, a general win for Shadow Pan. For Windwalker individually, they're getting some massive damage increase to Blackout Kick by 20%, and Flurry of Zuen by 40%, and just some minor issues as well. For Subtlety Rogue, they're getting some changes to Symbols of Death. To increase their critical strike chance, Shadow Blade's cooldown is being reduced by 30 seconds, but the duration is now reduced by 20% as well. And a minor buff they also got to their new First Dance talent. Overall, Subtlety is going to be in a really weird spot considering Invigorating Shadow Dust is being removed, and I have no idea how this spec is going to work without that. Lastly, for the changes, we have some updates to Warrior coming, with some minor nerfs to the Slayer hero talent tree, but general buffs to Fury, with Raging Blow's damage being increased by 25%, and Bloodthirst's damage being increased by 30% as well. So overall, this can help out, even out some of these abilities that feel like fillers and a little bit boring to press, while nerfing some of the Slayer hero talent tree stuff. But good lord, ladies and gentlemen, yes, there was a lot of buffs to break down today, between live changes coming on Tuesday, Delve updates, Mythic Plus, changes, to the Mythic Raid, a lot of things to make the game easier, it feels like, because it feels like, in some instances of the game, it feels very cutthroat and hard and difficult, especially in Mythic Plus. Overall, a very, very big win today. The game at the moment, when it comes to Mythic Plus, I think is a little too much. I think it's a little too challenging for some of the casual players, so a lot of these changes should make everything feel a little bit stronger when it comes to classes individually. What do you think about Mythic Plus so far? Do you think the difficulty is okay? You think it's like kind of mediocre? You think it's too easy? I would love to hear about it in the comment section below. Either way, just want to say thank you all so much for watching the content. We have so much coming very, very soon when it comes to content. I hope you all have a very, very safe weekend. God bless every single one of you. Until the very end, my name is Skyy from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.
Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the content, we have a ton of other videos to help you get through the war within, like these two right here. And since you're already here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button to join the Comeback Kids family today, because every subscriber matters. Thank you all so much for enjoying the video. I'll see you in the next one.